Hi everyone, I'm with you today doing another program for Armstrong entitled My Dog and Me. We've done an awful lot of programs from Armstrong in the last maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years. And we've talked so much about what dogs do and the types of activities they're in, and we've talked about a lot of different things, and we've seen a lot of operations and a lot of surgeries. But one of the things that we haven't done, except with the exception of the Canine Partners for Life and also the paws hand delivered dogs, is we haven't talked also about something else that dogs do in the form of service to the community. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the HOPE dogs. That's HOPE AACR, the HOPE Animal Assisted Crisis Response Dogs. One of the individuals with me today from the HOPE Animal Assisted Crisis Response team, actually there's 2 other people with Yvonne also, is Yvonne Eaton-Stull. Yvonne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have been with HOPE Animal Assisted Crisis Response since 2005, and I work full-time at Slippery Rock University as an assistant professor, where I'm fortunate enough to teach courses in animal assisted work for professionals.
Well, and about the HOPE, and you've been with HOPE how long?
I've been with HOPE since 2005. I came through with my first dog, Maggie, and she is a yellow lab. She was the first crisis response dog in the state of Pennsylvania. And since then, I have brought 2 other dogs through, Zeus and Honey.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit, because I know we did a program last week down in Titusville, and one of the things that we talked about with the young students that were there was the difference between a therapy dog and also a service dog, which I think some people get confused on. And it's kind of important for us to talk about that, and then we can talk about some of the local organizations. So give us the overall view. How does a therapy dog differ from a service dog, differ from a HOPE dog?
Okay. Therapy dogs are specially trained dogs that are invited into facilities to provide benefits to, like, residents of nursing homes or hospital settings. And again, they have to be invited. Whereas service dogs that you mentioned, service dogs are federally protected. What that means is they have special jobs to do for an individual person, and they are permitted to go anywhere that that person who has a disability needs to go. So they're very different than therapy dogs.
Okay, so let's go back to the therapy dog. So to be a therapy dog, and our local organization is Paws Hand Delivered, and our national organization that we're involved with in Crawford County is called the Alliance of Therapy Dogs. But there's also Therapy Dogs International. Therapy Dogs Incorporated now has become the Alliance of Therapy Dogs. So that's a therapy dog, and that's a dog that we test on a regular basis, and they go to all the facilities. If you're from Crawford County, you would see us at the hospital, you would see us at the cancer center, you would see us in the schools, you'd see us in the library, you'd see us in the nursing homes and places like that. We've got about, I think the last time we checked, I think we had about 45 dogs that belong to that.
Great.
So that's a dog that starts as a therapy dog and is usually tested maybe 4 times a year by us. And then Yvonne's also talking about the service dogs, and most of you might be aware of the fact that probably the best known service dogs in this area is Canine Partners for Life. And they're the ones that are actually trained at our 2 federal prisons, being at Cambridge Springs and also at Albion, and then they go down to someplace near Lancaster to Canine Partners for Life and become service dogs. So service dogs are a little different, as you say, than therapy dogs. What always amazes me is I cannot take my therapy dogs into Perkins or Walmart or someplace like that. But what about a service dog? Where can they go?
Right. Service dogs are permitted to go anywhere that the individual that they are working for, that they have special skills to help that person, needs to go by law. So, they can go to restaurants, to stores, anything like that.
Okay.
And it's important also to know that it is a federal offense for people to misrepresent their dogs and to take it into places when it is not a service dog.
That's something we should just touch on very quickly. I know that in the Paws Hand Delivered or the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, we actually go through a certification or a registration, and we have a form and we have everything that they have to do. I hate to say this because I'd hate to put it in someone's thoughts, but people actually many times just go online and go to any website they can find, get the information that they want, get a fake certification, get a fake vest of some type, and then they push their dogs off as service dogs, when in fact they are not.
And that's such a disservice to an individual who has a disability. and needs that dog to, perform a function for them.
Okay, now many people here know that I have 4 therapy dogs, but in addition to that, then how does a dog now, once they become a therapy dog, do they have to be a therapy dog to belong to Hope?
Yes. Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response requires that the dogs have been a therapy dog for about a year prior to seeing if they're able to do crisis response work. There are plenty of great therapy dogs out there, but crisis work is sort of the PhD of therapy dogs. It really requires a lot more of dogs to be able to respond to a crisis.
Okay, so now many of our therapy dogs are identified in our training classes. We have them in a training class, our trainer says, you know what, that dog would be a great therapy dog. Why don't you consider doing it? Do you have the time? Are you interested in doing it? How does the Hope dog get identified?
Well, a lot of times they get identified the same way, through trainers or through some of us that already have Hope dogs, and we are doing a therapy dog event and we see a great team that their dog is just a fantastic dog, wants to greet people, doesn't seem to be fazed by whatever they're encountering, and we say, hey, you should make that dog a crisis dog. I did that to Sue.
You did that several years ago with one that you insisted I make him into a Hope dog, and unfortunately we never could get that done. So now I have another dog that you said, we'll make this one into a Hope dog.
Yes, Danny.
Yes, so he's one of the ones that we use quite a bit. So you identify the dog, and a dog is identified as a possible Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response dog.
Right, but there's a lot more to it that is involved. To do animal assisted crisis response, the therapy dog has to be able to tolerate very chaotic environments, crowds of people, loud noises, lengthy visits. For a therapy dog, they're used to going maybe for an hour, visit at a nursing home. But sometimes for a crisis response, we're there for a full day, several days in a row. So you really are looking at a lot of different skill sets for these kind of dogs.
Does it matter? Male, female, big dog, small dog, any type of dog, does it matter?
Nope, it doesn't matter. As long as they can pass our screening evaluation, which we can talk a little bit more about, and make sure that they have the aptitude to do crisis response work.
And how many Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response dogs are there in the United States?
In the United States, we have close to 300 certified teams in the United States. One of the things I think that is very helpful to know also is we have people that work with Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response that don't have a certified dog. They work as a team leader, and I think that's just as important, because there may be people watching who love dogs but don't have a dog that's suitable, or maybe they just want to help in a crisis or a disaster. And these team leaders get called to help us when there's a crisis or a disaster, and they take on a leadership role. So they are the people that when we go to a crisis, make contact with the people that have called us in, help out wherever is needed. If I am handling my dog and I need that team leader to do something for me, they will help me out. So we have a lot of people that work without a dog as well.
Okay, let's take a second, and we've got 2 with us today.
Yes.
And let's bring them over and talk to the handlers or the team, and then we'll go on from there. One thing now, let's say I have my dog Danny with me, and he is a Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response dog. Can just one of my friends take him and go to a crisis?
No, it's really important. Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response follows national standards of certification and ongoing training for these dog teams. So what that means is that you go through all of the training that's needed with Danny. So you are the only person allowed to work Danny on a crisis situation.
Could Danny have 2 handlers?
Yes,
If the other person, let's say you like my dog so well, you want to become a handler for Danny, then you could go through the whole thing with Danny. No, just because you have your own dogs that are Hope dogs doesn't mean that you can automatically handle Danny. You've got to go through the training with Danny.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
That's kind of important.
Yeah, just like myself. I mean, I have 3 dogs, but I have had to go through the certification process 3 different times with each dog, because I have to make sure that I know my dog in each of these situations and they have the ability to deal with everything they might encounter in a crisis.
Okay, let's bring the dogs over.
Okay.
Who should we start with? Should we start with big to little or little to big?
Oh, I don't know. Let's start with little.
Oh, no.
We're going to bring over Ardis, Walsh, and Murphy. Murphy is a 4-year-old Cavalier King Charles Spaniel who is a crisis response dog. And hopefully Ardis will let him sit on my lap. Let me get up. So we can see him here. Hi, Murphy. Oh,
Murphy's a lover.
Kisses. Oh.
Yes. And you're saying some people might not like that. That's true. But if a person doesn't like it, then it's up to Ardis, who's the handler, to stop it. But some people in a crisis situation, honest to God, love that.
There we go.
And they want anything, any contact they can have with the dog. So we've got Murphy here. Murphy's very friendly. And if you know anything about Cavalier King Charles, they have a tail that never, ever, ever stops wagging. It can be 24 hours a day. I'm not sure that whenever he sleeps, the tail's not wagging.
No, it goes when he sleeps.
It does. Ardis, tell us a little bit about Murphy.
Murphy is a 4-year-old Cavalier King Charles. He was certified first as a therapy dog, and we worked for a year working in the therapy dog work. And last September, we got certified with Hope. We had our first major call out in July when we went to West Virginia after the flooding, and he did an awesome job down there and had lots and lots of love and kisses, and I think made a lot of people feel better.
Okay.
I have had the fortunate experience of being on different call-outs with Ardis and Murphy, and I have seen his work, with children especially, and that tail just never stops. And he is so happy to see everybody that comes to see him. And I think that that's really critical. There's people out there that think they have a great dog, and they certainly do. But if your dog doesn't love people and want to visit people, yes, thank you, they're probably not well suited for crisis work.
And they all do it differently.
Absolutely.
Some of them do it just a little differently. And real quick, now Murphy's how old?
4.
Murphy's 4. What's the oldest dog that we think we have at Hope around here that?
Well, I just retired my Maggie, and she was 13.
So 13.
Yeah.
Okay. So they can usually go pretty long with this.
Yep, as long as they still enjoy doing the work.
I think he enjoys it. Okay, now we're going to bring another one over.
right.
So, Ardis, you get to take Murphy back. And he's happy as can be to do whatever you ever ask him to go or to do. Okay, now we're going to go to the bigger end of the scale.
And this is Sue Herman with Lilly. Lilly is a 2-year-old Leonberger.
Leonberger.
Hi, sweetheart.
And Sue, tell us something about Lilly, and we'll turn her around so everybody can see. We need to see that beautiful face.
There we go.
There you go. This is Lily. She's a 2-year-old Leonberger. She just was certified this summer, and her first major call out was the West Virginia floods also. She has gone to some camps this summer for children, so those are scheduled call outs that we go on.
Right. Tell us something about those scheduled call outs.
Those
How do they occur, and how many are there, or how does a group get involved with that?
Well, everything that we do as far as Hope, we have to be invited in. So camp directors call either myself or somebody in our group, depends on the state, and we are able then to put together a group of dogs, and we go out to just offer assistance and support to the children or the adults at the camps. We have gone to burn camps, we have gone to cancer camps, we have gone to grief camps.
Well, you know, I know that just since I also am a member of Hope, we just got that possible call out that was for Louisiana.
Right.
Didn't one just come out for that? And then there was another one that was just like a one-time deal, wasn't where? I can't remember where that one was.
Maryland came right after West Virginia with the flooding in Maryland that happened as well.
Now, notice the difference here. You had Murphy, who's crazy, and who is just beside himself the whole time, and now we've got the little bit larger dog, and of course we can't have the larger dog jumping and going crazy the way that Murphy does, but there's a lot calmer. And this also works for people that are in a crisis situation, because some people want this. They don't want that licking and crazy Murphy. They want the laid back, I just want to put my hand on Lily and I just want to pet Lily the entire time. So that's just a little bit of the difference that you see.
Right. And Lily leans into people. So as people are petting her and getting the attention, she will lean her whole body in. So they are getting a lot of physical contact from Lily also.
We could talk about Danny. Whenever my colleague, what he does, if he were here right now, he would say, well, I'm getting a little tired and you're kind of boring me, so I'm just going to lay down. So when we do things with him, he lays down, the kids come over and pet him. He lifts his head occasionally, he lets them touch the nose, the feet, the ears, and everything, but that's what he does. I was real concerned about that. I said, you know, he doesn't seem to be good as a hook dog because he's so passive. But that's what some people need, and that's what some people like.
Yeah. Yeah, some people may be afraid of a bigger dog, and so they may prefer the smaller dog just because of that reason. So it's great that we have all different breeds of dogs in Hope.
Okay, well, while Sue takes her, but let's talk about what you're wearing, because you're wearing the outfit.
I am. Thank you, Lily. Yeah, we have a official uniform and identification that is required of us and required of our dogs when we respond to a call out. And that's really important because, as Sue mentioned, we do not just show up at a crisis. We have to be invited in. And we have great working relationships with various volunteer organizations and disasters, Red Cross, Salvation Army, and they will call us into those situations. And we have to look professional and have our identification, and that's part of our liability insurance that says we have to do this and this to be able to respond.
Okay, so the dog has the vest on, has two little side pockets, has her name on it. I don't know whether they saw that. Maybe whenever Lily was turned around, you saw the name. But in the pockets, there might be the insurance papers or pictures of the dog or anything like that, or anything the dog may need. And then we have to have what? This shirt on?
Yes, we have to have a certain shirt. We have to wear dress pants and closed-toed shoes for safety in a crisis situation, and our identification.
One of the things that we'll talk about in a little while, but the workshop, the dogs had to wear shoes too, and that was kind of tough. Okay, let's talk about this. Well, since we're talking about part of the uniform, what in heaven's name is all this in front of me? Who does this belong to?
This is actually
Sue's
backpack, and all of us carry a backpack when we are responding to a crisis situation, because you never know what you might encounter and what you might need in your backpack. And so you can see, yep, there's Lily's water bowl there.
Collapsible water bowl.
And I get to have fun going through Sue's backpack here. So we'll see what she's got in here. Oh my gosh, she has everything.
Poop bags. I see the poop bags.
Yeah, we got to have those. We got
Cleanups.
antibacterial wipes in case we need that. Breath mints so that Sue smells good when she's talking to people.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
A spare leash, but also a leash that has very little metal that won't set off a security alarm for when we go through an airport security, for example. We don't want to create more chaos or crisis for the responders that we're working with, and that will make it nice and easy for our dogs to come through security and not set off the alarm system. She has pens in case they're needed, antibacterial hand sanitizer there.
And Sue also is sometimes a team leader. I've been with her whenever she's been the team leader too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even though Sue has a certified crisis response dog, she can choose to respond to a crisis and not bring her dog and serve as our team leader so that she will, make our contacts and help all of us out. She also has business cards that she can hand out to people that give her contact information, flashlight, in case it's a night call out and she has to search out something that Lily's left behind to scoop up, although it's probably not very difficult because it's probably pretty large.
Is there anything in here that we're going to be embarrassed to pull out?
I don't know. Keep going.
Oh, okay. She says keep going. She doesn't think we're going to find anything embarrassing. Keep going.
Lily also has her own business cards. And these are a great hit with kids. They like to collect all of the dogs' cards that are, there supporting them. So have that there. Let's see what else we've got in here.
What about, I noticed you're pointing out, is that her lanyard? We also have to have that on.
Yes, her official identification. And on Sue's, She actually has some special buttons that were given for responding to the Washington, D.C. Naval Yard shootings. Sue responded there as a team leader. That was prior to Lilly being certified. So she has.
We go down there pretty often, don't we?
We have a pretty good working relationship with them, and so they have called us back several times. For example, when they rebuilt the building where the shooting took place and remodeled it, when people were moving back into the building, they thought it would be reassuring and supportive to offer us to be there to help people transition to the new building. Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to ask you now, if you go to some place like that, because some people might be concerned about this, who pays for it?
The organization, when we are responding to a call out, is able to provide some reimbursement for mileage or for hotels for members. So that helps out.
What if the dogs have to fly someplace? Do they ever fly any place?
Yes, sometimes they will fly. And you know, we recommend that you do what's in your dog's best interest and you advocate for your dog. So if your dog has never flown, it's not a good idea to suddenly put them on a plane to California. You know, you may choose to drive in that case instead. So, it's important that the dogs are comfortable traveling in all different types of modes of transportation, because we never know when we may have to go by boat or, you know, a bus or things like that.
Right. Okay, so now we've gotten the dogs, we've picked the dogs, and now they've been identified as a local therapy dog. They've been identified as possibly a dog that can be a Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response dog. Now, what's the workshop like?
Okay.
And what are some of the things they do? Can you do that with some of these dogs?
Sure. Well, they actually have to be about 2 years old before they could be a crisis response dog.
Okay.
And they have to have been a therapy dog for at least a year and have amassed about minimum of 12 visits in different facilities. Right. As you mentioned, a lot of the paws hand-delivered therapy dogs visit nursing homes and schools, and we look for a variety of options because sometimes we respond to a crisis with adults, sometimes we respond to a crisis with kids, so we like that variety in there. So if they meet those requirements and they belong to a national therapy dog group, then they would sort of meet the requirements that we look for. Then they go on to what we have called our screening evaluation. That is a very intense evaluation that takes place in groups of dog teams. And so there's usually about 3 dog teams at a time being evaluated in the same room. And every dog team is evaluated by a pair of current Hope members, minus our dogs. So we look at a lot of different things. We look at some basic obedience skills that we expect dogs to have if they're therapy dogs. And maybe in a few minutes we could ask Lily to come out and demonstrate sit, down, stay, and come. Does that sound okay?
They also cannot be aggressive.
Absolutely.
Doesn't work.
They can never be a crisis response dog if they're trained to do any kind of aggression work, protection work, or if they have ever been aggressive to a person or another animal, because we do work in groups.
That's so important. I find that, and we often talk about this whenever we've been doing some of these programs for Armstrong, that one of the most important things you can do with a dog is to socialize a dog. It is so, so important. I know that with my 4 dogs, 3 of them have never been socialized very much, but Danny has. You can take him anywhere. He doesn't care who he's with, what dog he's around. He can adjust to that. Much different. And I think what people don't realize is that we pass very close beside each other sometimes, or are standing in a tight situation, and you've got to make sure your dog is not going to suddenly turn aggressive towards another dog.
Right.
Now, sometimes they might be a little sensitive towards that, but then it's the handler's responsibility to make sure that they keep it under control.
Right.
What were we going to say? I'm sorry.
I think that part of our screening, you know, if somebody's watching and they're familiar with therapy dogs, they're familiar with how you evaluate therapy dogs. Our screening evaluation is it's very intense. It's about 2 hours long at a minimum. And the biggest part of the evaluation looks at role play situations. So we actually simulate different situations, such as somebody that's angry, somebody that's crying, and the dogs actually have to approach these individuals and interact. And you know, we can certainly demonstrate that and see how these dogs respond. But that is, to us, one of the most important skills that the dogs have. We also do a brief separation test, because in a crisis situation, there may be areas where the dogs are not permitted to go for whatever reason. In some major disasters, there may be medical areas, and so they may not let the dogs there. But if the bathroom is in that area and you have to use the bathroom, then somebody's going to have to hold Danny while you go use the bathroom.
Right.
So your dog has to be comfortable being held by somebody else for a brief period of time. In New Orleans, our dogs were so welcomed and needed that the dogs did not get a break from the affection and the attention, and the only way we could get them a break was in the crates. So we also do a crate test. To make sure that the dog is okay in a crate and can do a crate, because that's the relaxation. They need a break too sometimes during a crisis or a disaster. So those are some things that are a little bit different with our evaluations.
Okay, let's try Lilly and see what Lilly can do.
All right.
And then if we're lucky, maybe we can try Murphy. This might be some humor for us.
All right, let's see. We'll get Lily to do maybe sit down.
So we're going to have Sue come over with Lilly, and we're going to show you some of the things that Lilly does.
Do you want her up here?
Sure.
Lily, here. There you go. All right. First of all, we'll have her sit. Good girl. Lily, down. Good. Lily, stay. And they have to be able to stay, so I can put her on a down for 5-10 minutes and she'll stay. Lily, stay. It doesn't matter if people come over and touch her, she'll still stay where she's supposed to be.
I remember one of the things that you and I were doing, we were separated at that camp this last week, and it turned out that you and I were doing the same thing with our big dog, which was, and we don't encourage kids in the normal testing, so the normal therapy work, to touch the ears, to touch the nose, to kiss them, touch the feet and stuff like that, but that's something that can happen, and you were doing the same thing, and we must have been 100 feet apart, and we're both doing it because both our dogs allow people to do that, and that's so important, that you're able to touch them without ever having to be an issue.
Right, Lily, you can touch her ears, you can look in her mouth. Actually, we were on a visit and there was a gentleman that was just sitting, petting her, and then he decided to run his fingers along all of Lily's teeth. And there's not a lot of dogs that you would be able to trust running their fingers along their teeth. You have to be able to touch their feet, their front feet, their back feet. Mess with their tail and touch under their belly. And this is really especially important for boy dogs because a lot of boy dogs don't like to be touched underneath their belly. But if I'm a kid and I'm here and I'm going to give her a hug, you don't want them to be sensitive to that.
Okay.
So Lily's pretty tolerant to anything that we do.
Do I get to act out and show an emotion?
Yes, do something. Do an emotion.
All right,
Let's do an emotion.
here.
What emotion can you do? You're good at this.
I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to cry here. We'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to try. Yvonne, now we're going to show what a situation would be like where she's going to pretend that or act out that she's in a terrible situation. Some crisis has occurred to her. She's distraught. She's upset. She's crying. And now Sue would be bringing Lily over to Yvonne.
This is Lily. Would you like a visit?
Hi, Lily. Good girl.
And you'll notice there was no hesitation in Lily going up to Yvonne. She went right up. She had no problem with it. She seemed to like the whole situation. And the kissing is really big. I know. Every time I kiss my dog, I remember my mother always said, "Quit kissing that doggone dog." And I'm like, I have a dog like Lily, so I'm always kissing the nose or the above the eyes and stuff like that. And they are so used to that because one of the things, there's such a bond between us and our dogs. We have it with our therapy dogs, but it seems to be more with the Hope dogs. I mean, we're really attached to them. And one of the things that I was amazed at when we went down to the training, I did the training before Ardis did, a couple months before her. And one of the requirements which drove me almost crazy was that the leash could never be out of my hand. Right. Didn't matter if I was sitting in a chair, what was happening, that dog was attached to me constantly. And that's one of the things that happens in a call-out situation is you never let that dog out of your sight, or unless it's going to be with a team leader.
Right.
Right, that's one of the things. Once Lily puts her vest on, she is now a Hope dog, and I cannot let her leash down at all. So
Right.
even here, when we're doing the taping, she has to be attached to me all the time. That way, if a strange dog walks in, there is a loud noise, something that would scare her, it's for her safety, my safety, just to make sure that there is no problems. We want to learn to predict the unexpected and take care of the situation and our dogs before anything ever happens.
I didn't even have to do too much encouragement there, did I? No. Oh, are you a pathetic sis? Oh, my Lord. I think I'll take her home with me.
Well,
Well,
I have
I
the
don't-
leash, so I don't know.
I don't know, Lily. I've got 4 boys at home. They'd probably like you. Should we try Murphy and see what Murphy
Yeah,
does?
what do I-
Let's give Murphy a shot.
I think you should act the emotion this time.
He knows me too well. You try it.
All right.
Come on, Lily.
Lily, this way.
Lily, this way.
What do you want me to do? Be anxious? Be angry?
What do you think?
What do you think, Ardis? Angry or anxious? Angry?
Angry. Let's try angry.
All right.
You've been in a. I'll set it up. You've been in a situation. You were with some friends. The crisis has occurred. You suddenly find yourself by yourself. Your friends, you have no idea where they are. You have no idea what has happened. No one has given you any information. No one has done a thing. You are really not only emotionally upset, but you are fired up because you want answers now,
All
not
right.
later.
All right.
Okay, we got the setting. Here
All
we go.
right.
Come on, Murphy.
This is where, do you have any answers for me? I don't have any answers.
I don't have
What?
any answers for you. But
Do you have any answers?
But we might have somebody that will make you feel a little better while you're waiting for some answers.
Oh.
This is Murphy.
Hi, Murphy.
Murphy, can you say hello?
Hi, Murphy.
And one of the things you'll notice there, and this is something you learn at the training, I don't know whether or not you could pick up on it because Ardis might have been a little bit too far away from Yvonne whenever she said it, but Yvonne was upset. Ardis came over and said, maybe we've got somebody that you can be with for a few moments while you're thinking about what's occurring to you and maybe make you feel better. People aren't expecting us to give them answers. What they want is just some comfort, and that during the period of time. Murphy did pretty good. Murphy's one of my favorite of our therapy dog groups too.
Yes,
So
Murphy loves the attention. He didn't care that my voice was raised or anything like that.
no, he doesn't care about that stuff.
And, even in the example we gave with Lily, Lily came right up to me, but Sue would not just let Lily come right up and do what she did to me without asking the person if they wanted to visit
Right.
first, I just wanted to show you how she reacted with somebody that's crying, but she certainly would seek permission before letting our dogs, come in and pet somebody.
I don't
Be
know-
petted by somebody.
Yeah, I don't know what you did at your trainings, but at ours we were at a firehouse and the fire engine whistles went off. Or it can be, wouldn't be, God forbid, it wouldn't be any shots or anything else like that, but anything that's a strange sound or anything, these dogs have to be pretty good at putting up with almost anything. And I remember at the firehouse we had the firemen with the mask on their face, and the dogs had to go up to the firemen who actually had the full outfit on and anything like that. We didn't get on a school bus. What are some of the things that you did at the training that
My
Ardis
dogs,
was at?
yeah, my dogs have had to go on a boat. We went on a Coast Guard
Right.
boat, exposed to that. But the fire department, in not only the firefighters in their full uniform, but the packs that they wear eventually run out of air and they start to make a loud beeping noise. It's important that our dogs are exposed to that. The fire trucks themselves, the smells and the noise that the fire trucks make. We, at the recent certification, the firefighters actually turned on the hoses and sprayed the water too, which was an interesting stimulus for the dogs to be exposed to, and some of them loved the water so much
I was
they
going to
got
say,
to.
didn't the labs or the
They
Goldens want to
did.
run to the water?
Lily did as well, ran through the water there. But if the dogs successfully pass the screening evaluation that I mentioned, which is about 2.5 hours, then they're invited to attend the 3-day certification workshop. That's what Sue was talking about when she talked about during that 3 days, that dog is pretty much
Yeah, it's
attached
really
to her
intense.
for that 3 days. But the certification workshop involves a lot of classroom kind of training, how to work with people that are experiencing a crisis, to understand dog behavior and dog stress. That's very important, because when we're with our dogs, we need to know if they're stressed, and they don't tell us, right? So we have to be aware of those situations. And part of the certification workshop includes going to the airport, practicing going through security, boarding an airplane sometimes, and the firefighting exposure to the fire department. So, you know, you never know what you're going to experience when you go to a crisis situation, and we don't want our dogs to experience that for the first time when we're on a call out. We want to know that our dogs are going to be fine in those situations.
I can't think what had happened with Danny, but there was something that whenever we went and he heard some noise, and his immediate response was, normally he would have barked a lot of times, and he barked once and I put my hand down on him. It was like, okay, I'm reassuring you, you're fine. This bark is not, I mean, this sound is not even an issue. And there's that type of a bond with you and the dog. You don't, I'm in charge of the 45 dogs here that are therapy dogs, and some of them are magnificent, but you don't see that next level of attachment that these Hope dogs seem to have with their handlers.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's a big thing.
Before I went through the certification with my first dog, Maggie, I would have told you that she was my husband's dog, 100%. Not anymore. So we really bonded, you know, after that 3-day certification workshop.
Oh yeah, I think so too. So we talked about some of the call-outs. We talked about that Ardis and Sue have been done in West Virginia. And we talked about that we have had, there are Hope teams all over. We're divided into districts, right?
Right, there's 5 different regions, yes, of Hope. But we all have the same training involved, and every region is run by what's called a regional director. That regional director is responsible for managing day-to-day operations, determining how many teams are needed, dispatching the teams, and sort of coordinating those call-out situations.
Well, we had call-outs, I remember reading about it in California, where they were at the fires out there and anything like that. So it can be any type of a natural disaster or just a crisis situation where the dogs would be called out.
Right. We certainly, Sue mentioned earlier that we do planned call-outs in the summertime, and we do that really because those are fun times for our dogs to be exposed to camps with hundreds of kids, and that's a good experience. But you know, our dogs, when they go to a crisis situation, there's a lot of emotion, and it can be sort of draining for us as well as our dogs. So it's nice to have those planned call-outs. But in addition to the major disasters that you mentioned, like fires or flooding or tornadoes, we do get called to other crises. For example, shootings or suicides, things like that, sudden death situations. We get asked to come in and provide comfort and support in those situations as well.
We talked about the dogs having a lot of stress in these situations, but of course the handlers do too. And there's a period of time after maybe you have been at a crisis where you walk away from that to go back to your hotel room, and it's real important then for the actual handlers to get together and kind of go over how they're feeling and kind of their emotions and all that out too.
Yes.
You're not expected to be this tough, I can handle this. This is hard work, and it really is, and especially those that have been at the call-outs, they're very familiar with that. Okay, so we've talked about the call-outs. What about continuing education? Well, I'm probably getting behind on this. So what's some of the continuing education things I need to do?
Yeah, I think that's, again, one thing that's a little bit different. Therapy dog work doesn't require that, but at Hope, Animal Assisted Crisis Response requires that our teams are active therapy dogs. So, you know, we are not in competition with therapy dog organizations. We value pet partners or Alliance for Therapy Dogs because our dogs have to maintain their therapy dog work and do that. But in addition, we are required to have other types of training every year. So some examples would be pet first aid, people first aid, and CPR are some examples. But there's
what's the one we have to do with the county or the state?
Incident command.
Right, incident command.
Incident command.
That's a big one too.
Yep. And there's a lot of other types of training that some people are wanting to get trained in. For example, because I'm a licensed clinical social worker, I may be more comfortable in helping people in crisis, but for a long time I didn't know much about dog behavior or dog stress. So I might choose to get some training in that area so that I can beef up my knowledge in that. So different trainings that are offered even by Red Cross in your communities or things like that count.
Explain very quickly one of the things that we did back, it must have been 2 months ago, where we did the saliva test and all that. We were trying to see the response of stress
Cortisol level, yeah.
Right, the response of the stress on the dogs. And they were measuring that, how we were responding and how the dogs are responding, and did they need a relief time and all those kind of things. So there are all things just to kind of get a better idea how our dogs are responding.
Yeah, I think the more we learn, the better equipped we are to handle our own stress and our dog's stress when we do respond to crises and disasters.
Okay, so now if somebody wants to, let's go back to the beginning. So if they want to get involved with Therapy Dog first, they can go online, they can search it out, they can look under Therapy Dogs, and then it'll probably tell you an organization such as the Alliance of Therapy Dogs or Therapy Dogs International or any one of those, and then usually it has a section on there where it tells you if you want to become a therapy dog, if you want to have your dog become a therapy dog, then you need to contact somebody locally. So you make that phone call, you get involved with that person, you go through the initial testing. Then you do that for 2 years almost. They have to be a year old to get tested.
The dog has to be a year old, yep, to be a therapy dog, and then they have to get their work done. So 1 year of active therapy work would then potentially qualify them for crisis.
Okay, and if they want to find out more about HOPE, they go, what is our website for HOPE? I think it's down here. Is it down here on our... I don't think it's down there. I was thinking
www.hopeaacr.org. And viewers can take a look at the service history and take a look at the types of call-outs that we have responded to throughout the nation. And there's a link to, each region. If you're from a different state and you want to get involved, you can click on that and contact the person for that. I am the recruitment coordinator for our eastern region of the United States. So
that's how you found me, and that's how I found some other people.
Yeah.
In fact, that was kind of interesting because you hooked me into this, because you've been trying for a long time, and then once I got involved, I said, well, wait a minute, I know some people in our therapy dog group, and I think we've picked up, is there 5 artists? Is there 5 of us from our group, 5 or 6, that are from Paws Hand Delivered that have now joined the HOPE group? And they were ones that you identified, Danny, and then I identified the people in our therapy group, and then we sent them to the initial screening and on to the workshops, and it worked out real well. So there are several of us here now. And we recently got involved with, I'm not sure you're aware of this, Yvonne, but when Crawford County was doing a active shooting drill, we were a little late getting involved with that, but we now have made our contact with Crawford County so that if anything would happen in Crawford County, they know not only do we have the therapy dogs that could be used, but we also have a whole group of HOPE Animal Assisted Crisis Response Dogs that we can call upon to come in and to be available if something were to happen, God forbid, at the college or anything like that. We're readily available to help out.
And I think that one thing we didn't mention that's really important is there are actually published national standards for animal-assisted crisis response. So people that just think they have a great dog should never just show up at a crisis situation. The incident commanders should only be using teams like HOPE Animal-Assisted Crisis Response that have met these national standards.
It's funny you to say that because before I got involved with HOPE, I always thought that, oh, that's simple. We can just we'll get them called by whatever, and our therapy dogs will go, and we'll be perfectly fine doing that. But then when you get involved with HOPE, you think, you know what? Yeah, but this is the next level. This is a step up. This is something else our dogs can do. So many people do agility, and so many people do rally work, and a lot of people show their dogs through conformation and all those kind of things, and we've got the local therapy dog groups, and then we've got the Canine Partners for Life, and that's the service dogs. And now the next thing that people need to know about, and hopefully they've learned a little bit today, is about learning about the work that the HOPE Animal Assisted Crisis Response Dogs do.
And it's important for anybody to know out there. So if you're a counselor or you're an educator and there is a crisis in your setting and you would like to request the HOPE Animal Assisted Crisis Response teams, on the website is a toll-free number that you can call and get the dogs to come in. And there is no charge, of course, for the dog teams to come in and provide support.
Okay, hey, thanks very much. Certainly appreciate it. I hope everybody has learned a little bit about the different work that the therapy dogs can do, and I appreciate your work. And you also are down to Slippery Rock teaching classes in this?
Yes, thank you. Yes, Slippery Rock University has a couple of exciting things going on. We have a minor in animal-assisted interventions that students can elect to take.
Wait, did they bring their dog to class with them?
No, they don't get to bring their dog to class with them.
Some colleges are doing that.
Well, we do have dogs in the classroom, though.
Okay.
In the designated classrooms that have been approved to bring the dogs in the classroom. But then the students can take a course in, for example, animal-assisted interventions, and learn how to use dogs in their various work that they're looking at for a career. So healthcare professions or criminal justice, psychology, and of course social work.
Right. Well, I guess one thing we should talk about too, and I've had this come up so many times whenever I've tested somebody, they say, well, you know what, I'm a counselor and I have my own counseling service, and I'm going to get a therapy dog and get my dog tested to be a therapy dog, and then I'm going to take the dog to work with me. And I say, there's a step in between there. You know, our dogs are wonderful, but the dog has to be working whenever you are at, when actually the handler is almost like a volunteer. So you cannot, I don't know whether you had that happen, but correct me if I'm wrong, had you just taken your therapy dog to work with you, your dog would not have been covered by the Alliance of Therapy Dogs.
Right.
You had to have gotten your own liability or whatever. That's really important to understand. So many people think, well, I'm going to become this, and I'm going to be a first grade teacher, and I'm going to get my dog a therapy dog and take my dog to work with me. No, your dog can go to work with you, but it's going to be your own liability. If you go out of your first grade class or stay at 4 o'clock at night or go to a nursing home at 5, then your dog is covered by insurance, but not when you are doing your actual work. It's a different way. How much are these dogs insured for? If something should happen. The paws, hand, and liver dogs are insured for $500,000 towards anything that would go wrong. And I would say if somebody tripped on the leash or something like that happened, then you actually have that type of protection. And that's kind of important. What is it, Ardis?
$1 million.
$1 million these dogs are insured for whenever they are working. And that's not their play, they play time and all that, but working is put that vest on that dog and that dog is now working. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate your help. Ardis, thank you. And Murphy. Sue, thank you. And Lily, she's over there in the back of the room. I think Lily's getting ready to lay down or sleep. I'm not sure. But again, and one other thing concerning My Dog and Me, our programs, you can see them on Armstrong, on demand. But recently, we have put an awful lot of them onto YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and you can look under My Dog and Me, under Armstrong, and you can see an awful lot of the programs there. So if somebody doesn't have Armstrong, and because of where I live, I don't have Armstrong, but I can go onto the computer and I can see any of the programs that are available.
Great.
So thanks very much again.
Thank you.
And see you again at our next program.